In 2025, U.S. immigration is undergoing a sweeping transformation. Under President Donald Trump's second term, the immigration landscape has shifted dramatically. Stricter enforcement, new legal barriers, and a determined effort to reshape who is allowed to enter or remain in the country have taken center stage. These changes aren't just policy shifts. They represent deeply personal and life-altering realities for millions of immigrants, international students, workers, and even U.S.-born children of non-citizen parents. Let's start with the current situation. In June 2025, the Trump administration initiated one of the most aggressive immigration crackdowns in modern American history. The first major focus: mass deportations. According to official directives, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been instructed to triple its daily arrest rate, from about 1,000 to 3,000 arrests per day. Importantly, this isn't limited to undocumented immigrants with serious criminal records. Now, even individuals with minor infractions, such as traffic violations, or those who overstayed visas years ago are being detained and fast-tracked for deportation. Fueling this escalation is the newly passed Laken-Riley Act. This law requires the detention of any undocumented immigrant charged with a wide range of crimes, not only violent offenses. It also empowers U.S. states to sue the federal government if they believe immigration laws are not being adequately enforced. This has already triggered multiple lawsuits and placed intense pressure on federal agencies to boost arrest numbers across the country. Perhaps even more alarming is where many detainees are being sent. The administration has announced plans to expand the migrant detention center at Guantanamo Bay, the same facility once used for terrorism suspects. The goal is to house up to 30,000 undocumented immigrants at this offshore location. This move is justified under Proclamation 10,886, a national emergency declaration signed earlier this year. It grants sweeping authority to utilize military bases and offshore sites to address what the president has labeled an invasion at the southern border. Alongside this, Executive Orders 14,159 and 14,165 have been enacted to prioritize detention and expedited removals. In practice, these orders streamline the deportation process, reducing the need for extended legal proceedings. Migrants are now being detained and deported at unprecedented speeds, often without legal representation or basic due process protections. And the impact extends far beyond undocumented individuals. International students and legal visa holders are also facing severe new obstacles. In a move that shocked the academic world, the U.S. has paused all new student visa interviews. Thousands of students, some with scholarships, others already paying tuition, have been left in limbo. The situation is particularly dire for students from China, whose visas are being revoked at high rates, especially if they are studying fields such as artificial intelligence, data science, or biotechnology. The administration defends these measures as efforts to safeguard national security and intellectual property. However, critics, including university leaders and tech industry executives, argue that these actions are alienating the very minds that drive American innovation. Tech investor Reid Hoffman, among others, has voiced concern that these policies are eroding the U.S.'s position as a global leader in science and technology. Nevertheless, the administration remains firm, and is even expanding these measures. Meanwhile, a quieter but equally impactful change has taken place: the termination of humanitarian parole programs. These programs had provided temporary refuge to over 500,000 individuals from countries such as Venezuela, Cuba, and Haiti, many of whom fled violence, poverty, and political unrest. But in May 2025, the Supreme Court cleared the way for the administration to dismantle these protections. President Trump acted swiftly, terminating the programs almost immediately. Thousands of people who had established lives, held jobs, paid taxes, and enrolled their children in U.S. schools have now been ordered to leave, or face deportation. At the same time, a new immigration pathway is being proposed, but only for the wealthy. A so-called gold card program is under consideration. Under this proposal, foreign investors contributing $5 million or more to approved U.S. businesses would be granted residency. This initiative is presented as a replacement for the older EB-5 program, but with faster processing and fewer restrictions. Critics have called this move, immigration for sale, offering green cards to the rich while vulnerable communities are being driven out. Refugees have also not been spared. One of the most controversial actions of 2025 has been the indefinite suspension of the U.S. refugee admissions program. Thousands of people who had already passed security checks and were awaiting resettlement are now stuck in limbo. Many come from conflict zones or faced persecution at home, yet they have no place to return to. The doors to the United States have effectively been closed to them. Perhaps the most shocking move of all is the administration's attempt to challenge the constitutional principle of birthright citizenship. Through Executive Order 14,160, Trump is seeking to end automatic citizenship for children born on U.S. soil to non-citizen parents. This order directly challenges the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to all individuals born in the United States, regardless of parental status. Federal courts have already intervened with temporary blocks. Still, the administration is prepared to take the fight to the Supreme Court. Legal scholars warn that if upheld, this change could dismantle over a century of constitutional interpretation, leaving potentially millions of children in legal limbo. Another major development is the proposed creation of a new federal entity, the Office of Remigration. According to leaked documents, this office would coordinate mass deportations and oversee voluntary returns, which many critics argue are essentially forced removals. The term remigration itself is controversial, with some suggesting it echoes extremist ideologies from Europe that have no place in American policy. Nevertheless, the plan is reportedly gaining traction within the administration. So who is most at risk in 2025? Undocumented immigrants remain the primary targets. However, DACA recipients are also in danger, as the administration pushes to dismantle the program. Students, especially those from China, Iran, and Russia, are being closely scrutinized. Refugees, asylum seekers, and individuals under humanitarian parole are facing increased threats of removal. Even legal immigrants waiting for green cards are experiencing longer delays, increased denials, and unpredictable policy shifts that threaten their status. If you or someone you care about is part of these affected communities, here are some critical steps to take. Stay informed. Immigration policies in 2025 are changing rapidly. Subscribe to legal updates, follow trusted news sources, and remain vigilant about developments that could affect your situation. Seek legal guidance. Consult a licensed immigration attorney, preferably one certified by your state's bar association. Do not rely on online consultants or unlicensed advisors. One mistake could have life-altering consequences. Keep your documents current. Ensure your visa, work permit, and travel documents are valid and renewed on time. Avoid any legal trouble, even minor infractions, as these may now serve as grounds for detention or deportation. Get involved. Support immigrant advocacy efforts. Join peaceful campaigns, volunteer with organizations helping immigrants, and make your voice heard. Public pressure can lead to policy change. In conclusion, the immigration landscape in the United States has become volatile and unpredictable in 2025. What was once seen as a land of opportunity has become a deeply contested terrain of politics and power. For immigrants and their families, the stakes have never been higher. Their futures, safety, and legal standing may hinge on the policies enacted in the months ahead. Now is not the time to remain passive. Stay informed. Stay prepared. Stay protected. The changes underway are real, and they are impacting lives across the country every single day. Know your rights. Know the risks.